Hello, welcome to Strength for Tomorrow Radio with me, Stuart Thompson. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be a really quick one. It's literally an idea I got listening to a podcast, and it was a podcast I listened to a few days ago, and it was someone called Taylor Self who came up with the idea. I'm going to credit him with the idea anyway. Maybe it wasn't him, but he talked about the idea of widening the base of the pyramid. And if you're familiar with CrossFit, you will know what that means. If you're not familiar with CrossFit, you're going to find out what that means. But I don't even know what episode this is, but it doesn't really matter. We're into them so many now that the number doesn't even matter. So we've made it that far, which is good. But we're going to get stuck into it. So widening the base of the pyramid, what does that mean? I'm going to share this screen with you for a little second. And this is from CrossFit. Sorry, wasn't the right one there. Hold on. I'll get it right yet. It's from CrossFit in Mudtown, I think. Yeah, this is it here. So hopefully you can see this. So you got at the base of the pyramid, you got nutrition. You have then got metabolic conditioning. Then you've got gymnastics. Then you've got weightlifting. Then you've got sport. Basically, this is how CrossFit categorizes and prioritizes how you should think about fitness. So at the very base of the pyramid is nutrition, which is a pretty good place to start, right? So if you are playing sport and you suck at your sport, you might want to look at the things below that and see what your foundation is built on. If you are working really hard in the gym, you're doing your conditioning, you're doing your weightlifting, you're doing your sports, you're going for 5Ks, 10Ks, all those sorts of things, and you're still overweight, you're still obese, you're still ill, your blood pressure's up, you're on medication, all those things, you might want to look at the base of the pyramid, the nutrition. You've probably ignored the base of the pyramid. And this is something that CrossFitters bang on about all of the time, although probably not half as much as they should do. But it's something that this guy Taylor Self brought up. Taylor Self is a CrossFit athlete. He is a coach. He's a podcaster. He does programming, all sorts of things. He's a bit of a divisive figure, and he relishes that. So if you're looking into him, just realize that before you switch him on or go searching out. He might offend your little ears, okay? But he came up with this concept, and I'm going to credit him with the concept. Maybe it wasn't him, maybe it's somebody else. I can't possibly monitor the entire surface of the internet and see who came up with what. But I like the concept he was talking about. He was talking about if you hit a plateau in any one of these areas here, so the sport at the top, weightlifting, gymnastics, or metabolic condition. So say you have maxed out your bench press and you cannot get any further. You need to look at the base of the pyramid. You need to make this wider. You need to focus on your nutrition. You've probably been eating like crap. Okay, you've probably not been prioritizing protein. You've probably not been eating enough vegetables. You've probably been eating processed foods. You've probably been drinking junk, drinking alcohol, all sorts of things. You've probably had McDonald's. You've probably been doing things like that, right? Or maybe you've been ignoring and neglecting your metabolic conditioning, as some of us tend to do. If we are into weightlifting, we ignore this area. Hands up. Or maybe your gymnastics, maybe you just never do any body weight exercises. And the reason you don't do any body weight exercises is because you're overweight, because you know it hurts, you know it is uncomfortable, you know push-ups are going to hurt you more because you weigh 2 times as much as you probably should for your height. Okay, so those are areas, they all kind of fit into each other pretty nicely. I like this structure. I'm not saying it's perfect. There are some things that I think maybe couldn't be improved, but even you'll see the one that I come up with, or the one that we kind of follow here, even it's not perfect, and I recognize that. Hands up, it's not perfect. But this one is pretty good. I like the kind of idea behind it. So if say your bench press stalls, you might need to focus more on doing things like dips, like ring dips, like push-ups, like handstand push-ups, getting all those pressing muscles stronger, your shoulders stronger, your core stronger. Maybe if you are struggling to recover between sets in your weightlifting, your metabolic conditioning probably could do with some work. And it all goes back to nutrition again. So if you're not prioritizing protein, for a really simple example, your weightlifting is going to suffer, your gymnastics is going to suffer, and your metabolic condition is going to suffer. You're going to be weight. You're going to be carrying too much body fat and not enough lean muscle tissue. Hopefully that makes sense. Widening the base of the pyramid. Now, if we go back to, let me see, I'm going to show you another little screenshot here. This is the one that, oh no, I've shut it down, have I? 2 seconds. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Can we share this? Yes. Yes. Isn't it up? Good stuff. So, this is the one that I have come up with. And again, not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it is flawless. I'm sure you could find some holes in it. I'm sure you could find some issues with it. But this is one that we tend to focus on here in cross-functional fitness. Sleep and nutrition. You could have your nutrition right, but your sleep might be up the left. Or, more likely, if your sleep is up the left, your nutrition is going to be up the left. It's very hard to eat well, to eat nutrient-dense food whenever you are sleep deprived. There's crazy studies out there, and they found, you can check this for me, but they found that if you are sleep deprived, say you have 5 hours sleep per night, you're going to eat on average an extra 300 calories the following day. So if you struggle with weight, and this is really common with people who struggle with their weight, and I mean excessive weight, if you struggle with your weight, you're probably not sleeping great. Am I correct? If I am incorrect, do let me know. But it's not surprising. Whenever we don't get proper sleep, our stress hormones go up. It mucks about with our blood sugar, and this in turn mucks about with our hormones. And this in turn means that we crave sugary foods. We crave all the junk that we know we should not be eating. All right. So sleep is so important. I'm convinced if you worked on your sleep and you got your sleep in line, suddenly you're eating better. You're training better. And the same goes for the training, the same goes for all of these things up here. And I'm not really too fussy where you can kind of jib and jab, mix and match these things here. And especially stamina, endurance, strength and mobility. And I've kind of taken these things and kind of jumbled them about compared to the CrossFit version. CrossFit would typically have the old metabolic conditioning below, but above the priority list of strength. Okay, but for us, for our demographic, for the type of people who we work with, and for everyday people, I find great value in building strength and building mobility, improving mobility. So most of us, over 30, over 40, 50, 60s and 70s who come to the gym here, we tend to struggle in the areas of strength and mobility, and they go hand in hand. If you can improve your strength, your mobility will typically improve. Not always. Sometimes you need to focus a little bit more on the mobility, taking your joints through full range of motion, trying to improve those things, and then prioritizing loading, increased loading. Sometimes the loading can help fix a lot of problems, but sometimes you need to hold off on the loading until you get the mobility in line. See what I did there? Next in stamina and endurance. So lots of people are into their running. They're into their 5Ks, they're into their 10Ks, they're into high rocks now, right? Stamina and endurance, muscle, endurance, and stamina. Now, while there's nothing wrong with training for those things, I think it's a great endeavor. I think for most people, you would find more value in getting stronger and improving mobility, right? When it comes in terms of the quality of life. I'm not even going to get into the debate about whether it improves your lifespan or things like that. There's the jury's out. More and more, it's looking like you should prioritize both strength and conditioning, essentially, if you're serious about improving your lifespan. But for most people, they're not strong enough to cope with the demands of everyday life. Whenever you're stronger, life is easier. That's the experience of lots and lots of people. Even if you're not a very fast runner, right? Even if you're not you don't consider yourself very fit, you could probably still run a marathon. That might be really slow, it might take you all day, but you can still do it. The same cannot be said with someone who is weak. If you're weak, I'll give you all day, and you're not going to deadlift 200 kilos. You're not going to deadlift 100 kilos probably. You're not going to squat 100 kilos. And I'm just throwing those numbers out there. I'm not saying that is a necessity for everybody. I'm not saying that is the benchmark that everyone should aim for. But it's proven the point that you could have all day to lift that, and it's not going to happen unless you get a forklift then, right? And whenever you are stronger, the old quote from Mark Plateaued comes in handy. Strong people, what is it? Strong people are more useful in general, or something like that. Or that, what's the other one? Strong people are, this podcast is just going to be me trying to get myself, remember the quotes here. Strong people, what is it? I've got a complete mind blank. I think it's something like strong people are, man is stronger, man is happier. That man is happier when he's stronger. I'm gonna have to cut this out. This is ridiculous. Anyway, moving on. I think if you widen the base of the pyramid here, sleep and nutrition, if you widen this, suddenly your strength will start improving again. If you get your sleep right, your nutrition will follow. If you get help, if you work on these two things, these things come easier. You recover better. You perform better in the gym. Whenever you do that, your stamina and endurance will improve as well. You'll be less likely to get niggles and knocks and aches and pains. And whenever you do that, you can basically do more cardio. You can start doing more endurance things. And I mean endurance, I don't mean injurious. Does that make sense? And coordination and balance. If you can coordinate yourself, you don't train specifically for coordination and balance. Those are things that you have to practice. It's not a training discussion. It is all about practice. But whenever you do something like improve your squat, or stepping over a box even, or chin-ups, or bench press, whenever you do those things, your coordination and your balance will improve, specifically your balance. And that's one of the big things that separates free weight training compared to machine-based training. Some people substitute a leg press for a squat, and they are not the same thing, and they should never be confused as being the same thing. There might be a justification, a time and a place for doing a leg press instead of a squat, but that place is whenever you're so weak that you cannot even squat to depth. There's a justification for it then. But if you can squat, you probably should squat. The reason being, because you're training your balance at the same time. You're training coordination at the same time. Whenever you're doing a leg extension or a leg press or a leg curl machine, you're not doing that. And the same goes for accuracy, agility, and speed. For most people, especially the hard demographic again that we work with, agility, accuracy, and speed are not top of the priority list. Okay? Those things are hugely genetic. Yes, they can be practiced, but they are typically not improved in the gym. You need to practice those things, probably outside the gym. So if you're trying to get accurate throwing a ball, trying to get accurate with your foot placement in a long jump or a triple jump, you're trying to get more agile to get over a high jump, whatever it is, you need to practice those things. You can improve your strength in the gym, improve your mobility in the gym and out of the gym, but you can improve your stamina and endurance when you're actually training something that's tangible, something physical. A lot of those things that we're discussing, and we did that episode on this, accuracy, agility, coordination, things like that, balance, it's very neurological. You have to train your brain as well as your muscles, your joints, your ligaments, and your tendons. But if you hit a wall in terms of your strength or your mobility, the point of this podcast is to remind you, if you're in any doubt, that you should get better sleep. You should follow some sort of sleeping protocols. You should tick the boxes, and you should improve your nutrition. You should focus on filling up those gaps, basically. Otherwise, it's like trying to take water out of a sinking ship. That's essentially what it boils down to. So hopefully that is helpful to think of. I found it really useful to think of because because so often we can think, oh, we need to change program, or maybe I need to change my exercises. I need to do more sets. I need to do less reps. I need to do more reps. I need to do less sets. We get all these ideas. Oh, maybe we need to do more core work. We get all these ideas in our head, and the problem isn't where it seems to be. The problem is at the base. The problem is at our sleeping level. It's at our nutritional level. How are we navigating those things? How are we improving and working on those things? And if we spend half the amount of time that we do in the gym focusing on planning our meals for the week, thinking about what sort of meals we're going to be having for the whole week. Never mind just cooking them and batch cooking them. If we just even thought about it, wrote it down, planned it out, wrote it in our phones or something, then I think we'd be in a much better position when it comes to making progress in the gym and getting the results you're after, whether that is in your confidence levels, whether that is in your waistline, whether that is in terms of your leanness or your muscle mass or your metabolic health, whatever it is. Hopefully this is helpful. If it is, don't forget to share it, don't forget to follow us, and don't forget to train today so you can be stronger tomorrow, and I'll see you next time.